Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a lesson on leadership, and again, I feel bad because I'm picking on GMS, but I think that it's good learning points just from what we see with their leadership. Looks like they have like handful of guys who have are currently sort of the leaders, quote unquote apostles, and I just want to point out a couple of things that they repeat. And if you know GMS, they're a group, a Hebrew Israelite group. Many of them look like they've spun off of an original group years back from One West, which is reference to a location in New York. I don't know the history. Honestly, I'm not interested in the history from what I know now. I kind of have a strong feeling that at least one are involved in Freemasonry. And I think a lot of people are Freemasons and they don't know it. Just like a lot of people, or we would hope a lot of people are on the right-hand side and they don't know it. They're just going about life doing what they can and pursuing God, hopefully. And, they don't know. We don't know all these different things. And so I say this with a caveat that I don't know either. I can hope, that that I am working towards being on the right hand side, being a non-destructive force for God, and but I don't know, but and I think the same is the case for people who are involved in things that we would label as the left hand side, like Freemasonry, for example, is one of the things that is becoming more obvious, lot due to Russian Vid's channel. And there's many groups like Freemasonry, and I'm sure Freemasonry is not the end-all be-all of the evil in the world as far as which group is the most sort of deceptive, So, but it's becoming pretty clear that, the elders in particular of GMS and IUIC also stand out to me as just very blatantly obvious that leaders don't talk the way that these leaders talk when they've been touched by the Most High, and His truth and His love and His will, and just the way He is, His character, as revealed through Yahushai, or the world calls Jesus Christ. So Apostle Tahar, for example, always starts his video off with coming at you with this truth, and the most important thing that I find in that sentence, because he keeps saying it, with this truth. And this is a very important word in that sentence. It is not the truth. Because people who love truth just call it what it is. It's just the truth, and it's not this truth. It's not a piece of the truth. It's not a subset, a derivative of it. It is just the truth. And so very telling that and Freemasons, they do this, they let you know certain things that should lead you either towards the truth or away from it. And that is a very subtle way that, to me, he's saying that it's not the complete truth, and he I would say if I were to ever see him, which I doubt I will, but it won't take long for you to unpack the fact that they don't have the full truth. They don't talk about the deception in the media, the way Russian Vids did. And you would think that, God's chosen, would be the first to call out that evil and that deception, because they would be the ones closest to God and know the more subtle aspects of what's true and what's false. And so Russian and flat Earth, to me, is the absolute, obvious thing that blatantly they don't want to talk about it. When they do talk about it, it sounds really unintelligent, and it sounds really scary, honestly, when I hear it, because the arguments against flat Earth are insane. Really, I don't know how to put that in a nicer way. Now that sort of my eyes have been opened, it's like to believe that we're on a ball spinning, and a bunch of things spinning in unison, and then we're all spinning through the universe. Like that's insane, to think that. And it's okay to forgive ourselves for believing that, because we've been indoctrinated, and we hope that God is doing it for a righteous purpose. Even if he's doing it just to laugh at us, that's also up to God. If he wants Earth to be the comedy channel of the heavens, clearly, his son dying would not be comical at all. So it's not all comedy, but if he wanted this generation to be the comedy, that's up to him, even if he wanted to do that. But we believe and have faith that it was done for a righteous purpose, because ultimately God that can orchestrate that kind of only God, can orchestrate that kind of deception, because he's the one who's created the earth. And so, that's an obvious, as they would call it, a cut, to their theology, their theories of the world. And so, it doesn't take long to, put them in a corner, to know that it is coming back, like he says, Apostle Tahar, coming back at you with this truth. And that's very important. And there's his right-hand man is Apostle Kabar, and he has a very common saying that he always says, "this thing of ours." Again, using the word this, but most importantly in that he's saying this thing of ours. And so it is theirs. The reality is again, the truth is not for an individual in this generation, because we don't know with 100% certainty, who are, God's chosen. It's just the way it is. It's like in times in the past, it was very clear through works, through lineage, through authority. We could assume and know that certain people were ordained by God and housed, wisdom given to them by God. But it's not the case here. So the truth is just the truth, and we believe God's people will be drawn to it and pursue it with intensity, and in fact run to it with reckless abandon, because everything else is lies. So it'll be very, very obvious in these times who are God's children, and we're seeing that, and it's a wonderful thing. So for any leader to talk about this thing of ours in this possessive sense, that's not the right spirit. That's not the way that God would work, and he would never want the truth to be described as this truth, and he would never want a group to say that it's ours. That's incorrect. It's just logically and spiritually incorrect to say that. It goes against everything in the Bible, the spirit of the Bible. And it's just not logical to say that. It really just is not, because even a person who has, quote unquote, the truth, that still does not guarantee that they're accepted by God. There's a lot of people on the left-hand side, very, very high up, who know a lot more than we do, about the timing of the end times, even potentially, because it looks like there's a lot of Navy military exercises going on now. So clearly they're getting their orders from somebody on earth. No one's like going prayer and fasting and getting these instructions. There's leadership on the left-hand side who are mobilizing for something, clearly, and they control financial markets and this and that. So, and all those things are tied to the end time. So to me, the ultimate end time moment is this so-called elect getting running on fumes, just literally, like, they're on their last breath, and then to me the end will come. So it's not dictated by the left-hand side. In fact, it's dictated by those individuals who are on earth, who are at the top of the right-hand side, and they're just throwing in the towel collectively, and basically God would have to end it at that point, or else none of the elect will be saved, and that would not be able to fulfill prophecy. So if the elect got together in the room, whoever these individuals are, and I do believe some of them are in GMS, and potentially the other camps as well, even though they don't push the chip being the mark of the beast, which is worrisome. But God can bring people wisdom in a moment's notice. So I wouldn't give up on them either. But that's worrisome that someone cannot point out the evils of that development, in the very least. And it's very much in development right now. And IUIC are not a group that believe that the chip is the mark of the beast, which to me is extremely satanic. to have those beliefs in what we know now. But so that's just something to look out for. The way leaders would talk, the way Yahushua talked. He was just he's obviously a very different spirit than any other one in the world. So I'm not trying to say that it can be reproduced, but people who have his vibration, who understand him, who in past lives he would have taught, they would not come back into this life and say the things that Apostle Tahar and Gabar are saying. For example, they would not say those words. They would not say it in that way. And even there's another elder who I've noticed, he just constantly wants to curse out people who've left GMS, and seems very angry, or whatever. And it's like, he's basically what GMS, and this is one of the many hypocrisies, they'll say, just when you leave, just leave quietly, don't say anything, okay? But then the issue is like, if someone leaves, you can't trash them either, you can't say, they're evil, they're wicked, we're giving them over to Satan, this and that. Let them go, let them go on their journey. Maybe they'll get closer to the truth somehow. Maybe they'll pursue it with more intensity, with whatever foundational stuff they've learned from GMS. That should be a righteous person's desire, that if a person leaves their fold, and the people are leaving for very, very valid reasons, because GMS is very much, the leadership is like not allowing you to think, and it's very consistent with Freemasonry, in my opinion, and just the way the world is right now. Our educational system is that once you ask questions, once you dig deep, you become criticized, you become like an outcast. They're like, oh, you're just thinking too hard. I remember growing up, my family, I took an interest in the Bible, almost 20 years ago, and like they were like, why are you looking into this, and like very like, why are you trying to, you're asking yourself too many questions, you're thinking too much, and that's what you get, you're thinking too much, and it's like, how can a person think too much, in a society where, thinking is becoming extinct, really. GMS is a, you can tell by the leadership that they don't want anybody to be on their quote unquote level, and alter this thing of ours, and the partial truth which they have, which is now becoming more and more obvious to the growing population. And so it's not that unique. It's not that it shouldn't be possessive anyway, because it's very much common knowledge now. It's especially the evils that are orchestrated by America in particular. So it's not overthinking. You don't want to be in a group that is not allowing you to think freely and ask questions and even be wrong potentially on certain things, and work through those things, and not have people give up on you. Imagine if Yahushua gave up on those people around him that were wrong, about things. He wouldn't be allowed to hang out with anybody. He would just be sitting by himself, and then nothing would have happened. No information would have been exchanged. No learning, no growth would have taken place amongst the people around him. And so, by his example, we should look to our leadership and measure them up against Yahushua, and that's our responsibility, is for other people to also hold us accountable to that standard. And it's not easy, because really, every moment, is an opportunity to slip away from that standard, and not just in our actions and words, but in our thoughts, and all of that. So, we need that accountability. That's what this is. I do believe they're involved in Freemasonry. That doesn't mean somebody cannot be pulled out of it, and that's what God has ordained. So we hope that is the case, but, just be very wary of a group who talks about the truth in a possessive sense and only presents to you what I feel is a subset of the truth.